Welcome to the Dead Share Challenge. I'm so excited to have you with us today. If you're new here, welcome along. If you're wondering what this is about, this is where leaders join me every single day and they dare to share their own truth, their own story, their own vulnerability. Why? So that you see the human behind the perception. So that the next time you're watching someone feeling like they have it all together, and how are you ever going to make that happen because you have life lifing in the background? Now you realize that you are not alone, that they are no different from you. The only difference is they don't generally share it until now. This is part of a Real and Raw Leaders movement where we showcase the human behind the perception. And with that being said, Steve Plummer, welcome to the Dare to Share stage.
Thanks, Claire. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. And a pleasure to be the second male on the show too. That's really good. I did have a really clever line going. I had a clever line going, I'm the best looking man on the show, but there's been one other guy. So, yeah. But that went out the window, right, when you said you're the second one. So, yeah.
I love it, though. Pioneering the way for men everywhere watching or wanting to be on the stage. You're not alone. There are others here going first, so step into that bravery. Amazing. And Steve, I would love, before we dive in, I love to ask everyone, before we get into the juice, what made you say yes to being on this challenge, on this show?
I don't have an intellectual answer for that. I really don't. It was more just one of those gut feelings / spirit said, do it. And I did. Why would I go on the show halfway around the world? I just got a yes to do it, and so here we are.
That's possibly one of the best answers I've ever heard, though, because sometimes you don't need logic, right? Sometimes it is about listening to that gut and saying, okay, this doesn't need to make sense. I just need to follow the feeling.
Yeah. There is a really good book, Sonia Coquette, I think her name is, called Trust Your Vibes, which I've just finished reading, and that was really grounding for me in terms of listening to the gut. So, maybe that the book rubbed off on me.
Yes. I love that. Divine timing, as ever. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, are you ready to dive in, Steve?
I am, yes.
Okay. So we have two powerful questions that we're going to ask Steve in a moment. Now, on the surface, these may seem like very easy surface level questions, but the key is really about the guests being deep, going further than they've gone before, sharing more vulnerably than they've shared before, because it's in that depth and in that vulnerability that we start to peel back the layers, that we remove all of the smoke and mirrors and we see their human, their realness and their rawness. So Steve, I do have one more question that we need to clarify before we dive in, and that is which level of vulnerability you're going to be sharing with us today. So we have the stretchy level, which is, it's your journey, right? It's your hero story. It's things that you've overcome and you've got to the other side and you know the lessons and you're here to share those messages with others. Or we have the extreme level. And this is something that you're navigating, experiencing, working through in real time right now. Neither is a get out clause. Both are equally as vulnerable and powerful. But that being said, Steve, where do you want to take us today?
All right, well, I reckon I can share my hero's journey story in about 2 minutes. So let's go to the other one and go
extreme.
Extreme.
I love it, because these are, for me, the most powerful shares, because they're the kind of shares that most people don't share until they get to the other side. And when we're able to be that vulnerable and share it in real time and say, look, this is real life, but I'm still showing up. I'm still going after my dreams. If I can do this, you can do it too. That for me is just so powerful. So absolutely, hats off to you. Let's do it. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's dive in.
Okay, so question number one is, what does being a real and a raw leader mean to you? And we're not just talking about in business, we're talking about the human, the individual, the man that is Steve behind the scenes who has an everyday life. That realness and that rawness, how does that look and feel to you?
I think it's being honest with yourself and not, I'll talk in I terms, it's more powerful. I think it's about me being honest with me, because if I reflect on a lot of my life, I have suppressed or ignored things, as in emotions, whatever it might be. And, there was a bit of that tough masculine kind of thing, don't want to show your emotions and that. But I'll give you a really quick example. About a month ago, we got back from a holiday in Italy, right? So we've got 4 kids, so 3 of the 4 met us at various times there, which was a really cool thing. And we just got back from Italy and had that fantastic time. And about 3 days after I got back, I was flicking through social media, as you do, pretty tired from the holiday, but exhausted, had a good time, etc. Fantastic, right? It was just great. And people had said, I saw your photos, it was great. I'm scrolling through social media and I'm seeing people post their holiday pics, and I was getting jealous. Now, why? Why? So that actually caused me to go, well, hang on a minute. I've just got back from the holiday of a lifetime. I'm seeing someone else's holiday, and yet I'm feeling all of these FOMO type things. And I think that was personal leadership for me. It was exploring and uncovering why did that jealousy thing arise? Whereabouts in my story, in my past, did I have that FOMO of, someone else is doing better than me, or a jealousy thing? It was a really, I went, and then I just stopped and it was like, man, why am I feeling this? It was a very visceral kind of moment. And I think what I would have done in the past is just kept scrolling and ignore it. But maybe I'm finally, after 56 years, I've matured a little bit. and I was able to just, I think, pause, take a breath and really look at that. And so I think being honest, being raw and honest with what you're feeling in the moment, I think that leads to authenticity. And even if you don't come on a show and share something like that, but just being, I guess, almost awake to it and aware of it, I think that's really important. That self-awareness. It's like I said, maybe I'm just finally growing up. I don't know. But yeah, so that's probably an interesting one.
I love that. The self-awareness piece, I think, is really what stood out for me there, because how many of us get caught up in doing exactly things like that, scrolling, doom scrolling, just zoning out, forgetting that we're even doing it. We're just there doing it for the sake of doing it, forgetting completely what we're even absorbing ourselves with, having those feelings come up, but then, like you say, just carrying on, scrolling, and not even realizing that there's something actually coming up there that we can look into on that deeper level.
Yeah, absolutely. Another interesting story, I'll just quickly share this. It's, I guess, at the other end of the spectrum or scale, and very much more of a business thing. I run a support group for business owners. It's a small group program called Success Lab, and there was a high-level psychologist as part of the most recent group, and we were talking about how entrepreneurs can struggle in business and so forth. And he dropped this line that he had noticed as part of his practice, that because he deals with an awful lot of high achievers, CEOs, athletes, etc., and he said one of the things that he observes is that when they get stuck or they have problems and challenges and stresses in their life, he said what he often finds is that they're disconnected from their wow. And so I just pose this and again, you teach most what you need to hear yourself, right? So I pose this to every listener, like, are you disconnected from your wow? And because that really got me to think, am I sharing enough of my gifts in the work that I do? Or am I just keeping it at a very functional surface level? And if I reflect back on my life, the times that I've been most stuck, the times where things haven't worked, the times where I've felt the most anxiety and things like jealousy and all those sorts of things, is when I have been disconnected from that gifting, that genius that every single human being on this planet has. And that it was a really visceral line about being disconnected from your wow. And I just think, man, that kind of gets me here as well, and it's actually helped me open up about, well, where do I need to connect more with my wow or my genius in my work and share more things? And again, you mentioned divine timing and the serendipity of it. If we had done this a month ago, I wouldn't have had that story to share. And if your people are listening to it, maybe you needed to hear that as well now. Are you, or you maybe a little bit even, disconnected from the wow and the genius that is you? It's a really interesting question. It really, again, like the jealousy thing scrolling from the holiday, it was one of those things that really just made me go, ooh, wow. And help, yeah, boom, boom, yeah, and made me look within again about, do I need to do more of those things that do make me different to everyone else? And the answer is yes, right? In every little thing that I do.
Yeah, wow, I can relate so much to what you're saying then. I'm like, yeah, and I think that happens to so many of us. We get caught in that comparison, and when we're doing that, we forget that our uniqueness is our wow, it is our superpower. But there's that saying of you can't teach a fish to climb a tree, and then you're comparing it to a monkey, right? That's not the saying at all, but it goes something like that. And it's like your gifts are their own unique wow, and you can't compare that with someone else's because they're uncomparable. They're not alike for like. That really hit me, and I think for you guys watching, watch that again, because that was really, really powerful. And Steve, I want us to lead that straight into the big question today, which is, what are you willing to dare to share with us today? And for you guys watching, just so you know, I never know what any of the guests are going to share on the stage. Sometimes they might run something by me before we go in, and I'm like, yeah, just you've got free reign. Take it wherever you want to take it, because every one of us has a human experience behind the scenes. And this show is all about showcasing that human experience behind the scenes. And it's something that we can all relate to. So with that being said, Steve, what are you willing to dare to share with us all today?
The feeling of, have I been good enough? And that I think that has plagued me a lot of my life. Have I been good enough as a writer for my clients, in business, as a husband, as a dad? And again, it's easy to compare yourself when you see a lot of stuff on social media, but that's kind of surface level as well. It's a kind of an inner questioning, if you like. And if I can just relate another story, a couple of weeks ago, I was doing some training on a Saturday with one of Australia's best trainers, and he mentioned about including more of yourself in what you do in your presentations, and I said, look, I'm good at writing, I'm good at teaching, but they're kind of just my things. He said, I said, what else, what's my, help me see here. And he said, because he said to the audience, because I know him quite well, he said, look at this guy, he's written a book this thick of poetry, and he doesn't know or can't articulate what his genius is. And it was like, man, if I include more of my gifting, my wow with words in everything that I do, that might be a pathway forward as well, and help me connect more with people. So with your permission, I'd love to read one of my poems, which is about, have I been good enough, as a parent. So it comes from my book called Finding You, and yes, it is quite thick, as you can see.
Do you know, Steve, before you start, I have to say this, because I did not know this before we started. And a few months ago, I actually kind of had a breakdown, went into what I called the void, and I called that month Finding Claire. And I just... I just need the synchronicity of this. Is crazy. And I didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, people ask why Steve Vincent. That's my middle name, so I write poetry under my first two names. Yeah. Anyway, so it's really emotional. I will say up front, it's called Apology to My Kids. And when I wrote it, was asking me to really question: have I done good enough for, within all the busyness of business and all of the busyness of life, have I done good enough by my kids? And I wonder if many parents go through this, or is it just me? And so, this may help you look within your own parenting journey. So here we go. It's called Apology to My Kids. To my darling children, whom I love so very much, I still can't believe the universe gifted me with your luck. But as I've gotten older and learned more about life. I may have caused you pain, even emotional strife, because I fear I've used you for my own ego ends, not let you be free to change, to learn, and to bend. I wanted us all to look good for the world to see, when all I've done is stifled you, stopped you being free. All my rules, conditions, the way things had to be, it pains me deeply. Only now I found the happiness key. And I fear it's too late, the damage has been done. I'm so sorry to squash you, to keep you from your sun. You shine bright in the world more than I ever did. Too scared to be seen, I really just ran and hid. If I projected this fear onto your beautiful, clear soul, I'm ashamed that I have. Quick, dig me a hole. So please forgive my failings as your lucky dad. It wasn't intentional. I want our time together rehad. Because the agony I feel now, I held you too closely and polished you up to be my ego world trophy. And this bullshit on you is heavy, horribly unfair. I hate what I've done. It drives me to despair. All those conditions were just part of my biology. It matters not now. Please accept this, my humble apology. And the cool thing is that when my kids, I think I read it for them, and when they read it themselves, they came up and gave me a big hug and said, "It's okay, Dad. You know, it's okay." But it was important for me, I guess, to express that have I been good enough? Because if I hadn't have expressed that, as you probably are aware, Clint, emotions get trapped within our body and cause dis-ease. And so it was important to go through that, and hopefully me sharing that can help you express in whatever way is your particular modality to reflect and look within.
Absolutely. So powerful. And there's a few things that I want to just touch on there, Steve, because I mean, I'm a mum of two girls, single mum of two girls, so I feel this on a daily basis, especially as you're trying to build a business. You know, you're trying to live your life's purpose whilst also being the best parent that you can. And that mum guilt, that dad guilt, that parent guilt of feeling like you're splitting your time or you're just not giving enough attention, right? Because we also get it for then, but I need to be focusing on my business as well. And we get that kind of like, how do I split myself in two and not let anyone or anything down? And this pulls on my heartstrings so much, and I just love the synchronicity here because it's summer holidays over here in the UK. The kids are off of school. My eldest is about to go backpacking across the world, and I'm here just like, it's Tuesday morning, I'm working, I can hear my little one playing in her bedroom now, and the mum guilt is kicking in. And I'm like, it's okay. The rest of the day I'm going to be spending it with her. You know, this is half an hour. But we have this guilt and this fear of how we've molded them. And that poem, just wow. But what you said about how your kids then, once they heard it, they were like, it's okay. You know, like we get it. It's okay. Yeah. But the biggest thing for me there was that you acknowledged it and you shared that with them, because I think when we don't do that, that's when resentment can build, and that's when there can become conflict in families, when we don't actually share how we're feeling about it.
Yeah, and the other thing my kids said was that, don't be so hard on yourself, Dad. You've been a great dad for us, you know, and that was really special too and important. And I think it's something as an intelligent high achiever, I don't know about you, but I set the bar really high for myself. And sometimes it's in my own, my own ego, my own imagination, it seems difficult to live up to that. And that's a constant battle that I face. Did I get a good enough result for that client? You know, did I deliver that poem in a meaningful enough way to really, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's kind of still how my mind tends to work. And I don't think I'm the only one like that.
Absolutely not. I think we get so caught up in beating ourselves up about everything and it just not being good enough. But what is good enough? You know, that bar that we set. Yeah, it's sometimes it's just not needed, I guess is the only word I can think of. But I completely resonate, and I'm sure you guys can too. Steve, so powerful, so real, so raw. Can you please tell everyone where they can get into your incredible world and about the magic that you bring to the people that you work with?
Okay, sure. You can download one of my poems called She's Okay, I think. And that's the story of a friend who did not see her own daughter's postnatal depression. And because she was, again, a high achiever, and so that's a really heart-wrenching one as well. So go to stevevincentonline.com, stevevincentonline.com, and you can download a poem. You can get the book at Amazon as well, Finding You, or if you're in Australia, you can order it through my website. But Amazon, if you would love that. Just a real quick little plug too. The way I've structured the book, the poem is on the left-hand side. There's my reflections of why I wrote it on the right-hand side, and then places for your own reflections within the book. So it's kind of like
I love that.
A workbook. Wow.
Yeah, that's incredible. I've never seen a poetry book done that way. That's really powerful.
Yeah, and that's it. I want you to use what I've done as a door opener into your own world. And if any of my experience, as I said, maybe I'm starting to grow up now in my 50s, if any of that experience can help you on your journey, then by you diving in, then it's been a worthwhile activity for me and useful for you.
Wow, so powerful. I'm definitely going to be watching this interview again because everything through this has landed with me so personally, and I'm sure with you guys too. All of those links will be in the show notes, so if you're busy doing other things, don't panic. You can come back to this anytime, hit those links and go and get into Steve's world, download the book. I'm going to be getting a copy, absolutely. That sounds incredible. And what an amazing share, Steve. Thank you so much for braving the stage, for being our second man on the Dare to Share challenge, for showcasing your own real and raw leadership, and most importantly, the human behind the perception. And for you guys watching, thank you for watching. Share this with someone who this will land with, and I will see you all on the next Dare to Share challenge. Bye for now.